You're listening to Art Heroes Podcast, the show to help you thrive as a digital artist. Tune in to learn how to transform your passion into a career. Get inspired by other kick-ass 2D and 3D artists, and find out what it takes to be an art hero.
Teaching what you know might seem very easy, but is it really? For today's podcast, we invited Alfredo Baro, one of Art Heroes instructors, and the guy who created our amazingly successful Zbrush Fundamentals program last year, so that you could learn from him what it actually takes to record a full-on educational program as a 3D art professional. Let's meet and greet Alfredo. Hi, Alfredo. We're now live. Thanks so much for coming to the Art Heroes podcast. And guys, this is Alfredo Baro.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Alfredo Baro. I'm a Mexican artist from Mexico.
Amazing, yes.
Yeah, and I do characters and modeling, and I love that kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. Well, actually, funny enough, Alfredo is probably one of the artists that I know best who's on this podcast, and this is because Alfredo also is one of the instructors at Art Heroes, and we're really, really proud of having him. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that today, right, Alfredo?
Right, I'm really happy to be here.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Alfredo, there is this first question that I ask everyone, and I would really like to know your story. How did you get started in 3D? What was your first experience, and how come you ended up in this industry? Is it about the guy that's on your background?
No, it's not. It's not really about that guy.
Okay. I'm glad.
I like him, but no, it's not everything about him.
Okay.
Well, kind of, because I had a background on liking comics and such. I started I wanted to be a character artist, not a character artist, like a concept artist, like doing environments and doing worlds and creating characters and creating stories and such. But I was learning that, but I was at university at the time, and then I was about to start my 3D classes, so I wanted to be ready for those. So I tried to learn it before the classes a bit and try to understand the software a little bit. And the first software I learned was 3ds Max, and it wasn't really pretty at the moment, and I didn't really understand it. And then I always wanted to do characters, right? So doing characters on 3ds Max, it's very poly modeling, like box modeling or face modeling, and you have to it's a very unorganic way of working. So I didn't know this is the way to do stuff. I'm not really sure. This is really time consuming. I'm not sure if this is the way that they are doing it at the studios. And then I learned about Zbrush, and I got to play with it a couple of times. And at first everything was horrible, but thanks to actually student that was here, he told me about C Classroom, and I started messing around with Zbrush, and that's how I really started with 3D and actually starting and liking it and working in 3D, because before that I was only into 2D stuff.
Right. But do you have art background or whatsoever, or not really?
Well, I took painting as a kid, but as a little kid, I didn't paint really pretty stuff. I only paint broken hearts and broken fruit and that kind of stuff. But I also took a kind of course, my high school and my high school and my middle school, you can call it that. It's secundaria here.
Yeah.
But it was the same one. So they had a program they had these workshops about design and drawing, and they also had this course apart from the already existing course of the school. They had this design class and what's called technical drawing. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
The ones where you draw houses and that kind of stuff. So that could be my background. And I also like to draw a lot. I always looked at comics, at animation, video games and such. And I was always trying to emulate the style and to draw these little characters in my paper that they look horrible, but I had fun.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, just as a follow-up question, I know there is an ongoing debate always, do you think it's necessary to have art background to be a successful 3D artist? Just curious, what do you think about that?
I don't think so. It's more like, well, it helps. Certainly, I think it helps, but I don't think you need to have it. Like, you can learn a lot of stuff, and if you are like have the discipline to do so, like I think you can start to grasp some concepts little by little. And if you have someone that can explain it to you, like
Yeah.
say like here is what it is, and it's kind of easier to understand if you are like, well, yeah, if you are by yourself. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's compulsory to have an artist background or something like that to learn 3D. I think you only want to do it, and to have you have to be curious though, because if you're like not trying to discover this by yourself, like it can get really hard, like to have someone just to fix your stuff. But if I think it's good to be curious and to try to find how to do stuff on your own. Like
Yeah.
I want to achieve this, but how do I do it? Like you have
Yeah.
to research and do
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Research and like tons of research.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, um, like I know that last year you built a program that is now running successfully. It's ZBrush fundamentals, and a ton of students are learning from you and in an ongoing basis. So and I know also there's so many artists that are interested in teaching what they know. So can you maybe share your process about like recording the full ZBrush learning content, and like what went in it and what it is about, and like how it was for you as an artist?
Awesome. Well, first, thank you guys also, because you are kind of the reason that I made the course.
Well,
Yeah.
but anyway, just yeah, you made it from start to finish. We're
Oh
just
yeah.
like
You,
watching.
yeah. You also guys had credit. Well, for doing that, like it was. I thought it was gonna be easy. Like I told you in the beginning, like it was like, yeah, it's just recording when I'm working. But I had no idea of the process of recording stuff. Like so many things like go off, and if you don't have like anything planned, sometimes you can start talking and then you go off, and the lesson doesn't go really well. So I like to like plan my action, like what well, not my action, but like the plan of action that what I'm going to be doing, what I'm going to be working on, and try to divide it with topics and maybe write some tips. I like to do some note sketches, and I also, not for every video, but I like to have like a document on, like a Google document to tell me like step by step. And when I was like a little bit lost, like I could check my other screen and see like, oh, so this is next, and I can. And also I had some stuff written down, so if I forgot about them, like when I was reading at the document and going through the lessons, I can remember about it, and I can like explain that concept, or a specific kind of tip, or like a command or something like that. And the courses has been like really exciting. I was a little hesitant at the beginning, but when people started taking the course, it was really exciting to see people that had no knowledge of ZBrush whatsoever. And at the end of my course, it like they had something to show, and something like really good to show, and it's been the first time. So it was really exciting to well, every time to see what everyone is creating.
Yeah. No, for sure. Do you remember, like, maybe you can like quickly explain what's the structure of the course? So just like, people who are listening and that have no idea what was that thing that you created, just could wrap their head around it, because it's not just like one 5-minute tutorial. Yeah.
No, no.
Yeah.
It's a whole like ZBrush fundamentals course. Like it's at first we start by explaining the interface, the ZBrush interface, and to like get you used to the interface, because it's not a like a usual interface that you see around. Like you can kind of compare like the package of Adobe with everything Adobe, or like Autodesk with everything Autodesk, and they kind of look similar. Also like with Blender and such, but like ZBrush is so different on the other interface, so we have to take a couple of time like there and figuring out how to navigate, and where is like the stuff that we are going to be using the most. And then we kind of break it down and like explain every like all the useful tools that we are not that maybe we're not using all the time, but they are useful at some points of the sculpt. Then we go in. We also have a module on organic sculpting, uh, where we go through basics of sculpting, like a couple of ways that you can block your character and have a nice looking organic sculpt, and some techniques on how to like add details, like modify volumes and such, what to keep in mind also. And then we also have an inorganic module, and in that one I'm mainly explaining like, well, inorganic workflows. But I think that the cherry of that module is the C modeler. Like, I don't explain everything about the C modeler, but it's a pretty strong tool when it comes to inorganic sculpting inside of Zbrush, and I use it a lot, not only for inorganic stuff, no, not only for inorganic stuff, but also for organic stuff. Sometimes to block out like maybe clothing or maybe an element. Like I wanted to have like a decent topology that I don't get with zero measure. So that's I'm using that. And at the end, we have a little module on polypainting and also on rendering inside of ZBrush too, and a little bit of compositing in Photoshop. So that's a whole course.
Yeah, right. No, yeah, that is pretty much it. And how long do you think it normally takes to go through the whole program?
I wouldn't be sure, but maybe I think you can get through it in 1 to 2 weeks. I'm guessing that's a good time to go through the course. I
Right.
mean, maybe if you have a lot of stuff to do, maybe not, but I think like it can go, I'm sorry, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, it depends really. I know that there are
yeah.
some people that stay there for like 3-4 weeks, and somebody did it like just two. So yeah, that is true. And what was the hardest part for you about building it?
The hardest part was when I don't know if, well, you of course remember that when we already had it kind of recorded, and then like we did some beta testing, and we noticed that it wasn't as clear as we thought. Well, as I thought, maybe. And the beta tester was like going crazy, and he couldn't figure out stuff. So like going back to that section and trying to rethink the stuff that I already like recorded and everything, I think that was the toughest part, because I thought it was clear, and then like discovering it wasn't. I had to figure out why, and I went like through the points that the guy gave us,
Yeah.
and tried to figure out stuff and such. And also a really hard part is when like we were talking previously, when you like hit record but you are not really recording, so you've
Oh
been
my
like
God, yes.
going on for like 20 minutes, and it's not recorded, so you have to go all over again.
Yeah, yeah,
That's terrible.
happens with the best of us, 100%.
Yeah.
Uh, so, how long did it take you, as of, from start to finish, to produce like one full learning experience?
It was about like 1 month and a half. I don't remember correctly. Maybe like
Yeah,
1 month and a half. It was kind of on and off,
yeah,
because I was doing other stuff on the side. But yeah, I was mainly working on the course. So yeah, it was like a good month or
yeah,
two.
for sure. Yeah. And, I'm sure there is somebody who's listening to us and maybe wants to hear like tips for, recording like educational content for artists. Do you have something on that? Like, what's your best advice to somebody who's going to record a course? It doesn't have to be on like ZBrush or something else. So it could be absolutely, I think it's all applicable to any type of stuff that you're teaching.
Well, I think like try to be calm and like understand that some stuff like can fail, and yeah, like yeah, just to
And
go
hit the
with it
record
with,
button all the time.
yeah, and hit the record button, like going and without expecting like anything. But yeah, because sometimes like you are going through like a long class, and or like a long lesson, and then you mess up, and you have to basically record all over again. But that can happen, and and that's okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And what do you think? Okay, just I think I should also mention that you're constantly working with the students of like this course and with stylized course students. So this is also very interesting because they're also like partially your success stories that because they produce amazing stuff, and I'm sure we can pull some of them like now on the screen, just some of them,
Really
like
cool.
yeah, really, like for example
Super proud of
Antonella
them.
just
Yeah,
did this amazing character, and she started from zero, and in 3 months she produced the work that we could not believe was hers. It is
it was
actually hers.
awesome.
Yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
absolutely
It was
awesome.
crazy how
Yeah, like this
like
is like you actually see transformation, and yeah, when people put hours and follow the process, but then it all belongs to them, so it's like really amazing. What do you
definitely.
think, yeah, makes a really successful student, so somebody who eventually produces great work? Do you think there is something special about them? I mean,
Well, definitely, there's something special about them, but it's hard for me to say. This
no, just like you, because you give feedback to students all the time, and I don't know if you can see right away if it's like a a good student, or is he gonna make it. Like, can you see it right away if it's like a student that's like on the right track, or no?
kind of, yeah, but you can feel like when they're going on the right track and when they're not. Like I think that's something that really helps is like accepting feedback, or like don't taking
That's a
stuff.
great tip. Yeah,
Yeah, don't take stuff like personally. Like when someone tells you something, it's because of something, like because they believe that they had to tell you that. And also, like, if it's kind feedback, because there are sometimes like just awful feedback that doesn't help at all. But yeah, when taking that, I think it's a great thing to have, like taking in feedback and like process it, just not just take it, like process it and figure out if it's like the a feedback that would help you. And but don't disregard it at the beginning. Like they told you that for a reason.
yeah.
And yeah.
No, for sure, for sure. And so, what about, like giving feedback? So when you give feedback to your students, what is the, like, is there something that you kind of always keep in mind, like how you give feedback, or what are your guidelines for giving feedback? Are you more of like a technical or artistic? Like, what's your way?
I try to go fairly technical, but yeah, I sometimes, well, at the end is something artistic, so an emotion is in play, so I it's also a good thing to have. I try to go technical, but it's really scary for me sometimes because there are so many talented students on Art Heroes, and and it's kind of scary to give feedback to those because they are looking so good and there's so little that you can say. But yeah, I try to like remember them of the good things that they have. Like I try to make a quick comment about something that they are doing right, and they should not worry too much about at the moment. And then I list the things that I think would help, or the things that, like, and trying to also compare it with the original concept. I try to like make measurements and like give give some references to the students, and yeah, list the things that may change. I try to be kind of specific at some areas, but I also try to keep in mind like the stage they are at. So if they are like just starting the concept, I don't try to go too overboard with the with the face and details that are not really important at the moment, when the thing that should be worrying the most is like silhouette, or like the overall proportions and such.
Yeah, that for sure. I think timely feedback is something that's very important because, yeah, of course, when we're just talking about blocking out, we can't really push in like further stages of project because it's just like irrelevant.
Of
So
course.
that is really important. And isn't, like as an artist yourself, because you were constantly, I know, working on your portfolio and like produce new stuff. So where do you get feedback? Just
Well, I normally try to get feedback from my close friends,
yeah.
or sometimes I not always, I try not to bother too much, but I try to ask Marlon sometimes for his help, or anyone like also on the or even on some Discord
Yeah.
channels and or groups, and also on Facebook groups and such. I try to ask for feedback, or if I don't get any feedback, I try to go with some people that I know and I know I can talk to them, and I trust their eyes and their gut feeling about the presentation and such, and I show that to them, and that's how I also get feedback by sending those to like people on Instagram, or like people are on LinkedIn and such. And one thing that I did before that I didn't do too much, but like go to like events, and like they usually have like portfolio reviews and such, and that's a great way to get feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, unfortunately, not this year, but
Yeah,
at least like not last year. Let's see what happens this year. But
yeah.
yeah. And do you think there is something like too much feedback, or there's never too much?
Maybe there's a point that there's like maybe too much stuff to tackle, and like it can get overwhelming. But yeah, I think there could get a point when there is too much feedback, but like I try to like have as much as feedback as I can.
Okay,
Mhm.
and what is the point? I think it's a very interesting kind of a question to tackle, because feedback is something that can improve work like dramatically. So where do you think it's like a good point to actually ask for feedback? It's like, okay, now is definitely the time when I need some, or it's like now I just really need to work by myself on it. But like, how do you see this?
I guess from time to time, like maybe you can take a course, and then in the course you can have some feedback, and then you start working on your like after finishing the course, like you learned every well you finish the character or whatever like you had to do, and then you can use that knowledge to make a whole other like project, and then you can like try to use what you learned on the previous course, but without the feedback of the teacher, and then you can then with that project, then you can go to someone and ask for some feedback, and like on and on. But then like it's a thing that to go from time to time, like not
Okay.
always. Maybe I for example, after I did the course with Marlon, that's what I did. I made another character, and then with that character I went for feedback, and then I took another course, and kind of doing that so I can like have a time for me to digest everything that I learned on the course, and not like finish the course and go to another course and I haven't even like totally
Processed it.
processed it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think it's a good way of looking at it. Just like absolutely like absorb this knowledge. It like takes a while
totally.
yeah, to start. And yeah, how interesting. Like I love that you're always learning, and it's just like kind of a constant process. I mean, I see this with a lot of successful artists, and it's like, I think it's kind of a common practice. So yeah. um and another thing I wanted to ask you about, like, we constantly say, like, within art heroes community, that the best way of learning is actually to teach, because we constantly remind people that, like, when you give feedback, you learn for yourself and you spot others mistakes of others that you probably are making too.
Yeah.
As an instructor, and as a person who spots everyone's mistakes, do you agree with this? I mean, I never asked you actually in real life, so just yeah.
Yeah, before I was like a bit I thought about it, but when I started doing like completely, I completely agree. Like you learn so much from teaching or and from helping others. Like you well I learned so much just from looking at the work of my students or the people like are taking courses on art heroes, and I can spot like stuff that they tend to do, or and I also tend to do on my work, which it's not always bad, but I can like polish the process a bit and become just a little bit better avoiding doing some stuff at the beginning, or even so, like I'm reminding people of not doing, like not going too much into detail, or like going back, or like going with more like simple or primitive forms instead of going like full, like very anatomical. And those tips that I give are also constantly reminding myself, or following those. So it's good to keep saying that, even if I don't do that all the time, but saying it over and again, and helping people like trying to get their head around these concepts, like helps me to understand those. And also like looking at so many characters and so many concepts and so much stuff, I think it has helped a bit my eye to improve
Yeah,
just a
yeah, yeah,
bit.
no, absolutely. And what's the most exciting project that you've ever worked on as an artist? I mean, like personal or freelance or whatever. Just like, what's your favorite uh project so far?
My favorite project so far. The one that is becoming my favorite is the one that I'm currently working. It's not as spectacular or as shiny or like anything, but I'm liking the one that I'm currently working on. It's still like on the look dev
I'm
process.
gonna pull it on the screen right now. And
Awesome,
like
thanks.
I know it's just a whip, but
Yeah, it's just a whip.
yeah, for everyone who's watching it now on the screen, and for everyone who's listening, there is a link in the show notes. That
Awesome, thanks for that.
okay. Yeah. And so why it's like, okay, if it's not shiny, what makes it favorite?
I don't know. I've never been good with topology and like doing everything like the technical the technical part of modeling. Well, I haven't learned it so much, so I got the moment to study about it with a course I took with Shannon Thomas, and also like looking at some. I bought some resources from other artists, and I tried to look at their stuff and like to to understand how topology works a little bit better, and stuff like that. And also I think the character is it's looking really close to the concept, and I was looking for that. So I'm really excited how the project is working. I think I've been the most organized, and I don't know, the project feels good.
Yeah. I mean, it looks good too. I'm
Thank
excited to
you.
see what it like
And
what
stop
it
looking.
will look
Yeah,
like. Yeah.
yeah.
When you finish that.
Hope
How
I
long
finish
do you,
it.
yeah. Well, yes, I hope you will. I'm sure you will actually. How long does
Yeah,
it
really close.
normally take you, like for a project, like start to finish?
Since in this project I want to do like almost everything, like from modeling to look dev. It's taking a bit longer than just doing like a sculpt or a model or something. And sometimes if I want to do just a simple sculpt, I don't need to go to UVs and texturing, and I just I can go to Photoshop and compose it, and I can post it and everything. But since this is more like a professional work, I'm trying to be a bit more organized, to well, yeah. And it's taking me like, for now it's been like maybe 2 months or 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm also been like learning stuff on the go and finding out about stuff I didn't know about. So I
Yeah.
think it's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not really, it's not about like time competition really. It's just yeah,
Yeah, and
taking
it's
it.
also a
Yeah.
personal process. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like the constant like just research and development type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Cool, cool, interesting. And so, what is your now? What is the main thing that keeps you busy? I know I asked you this before we started the recording, but just wanted to keep it here as well.
What keeps me busy?
Yeah, like as of like what you do artistically mostly. I mean, I know that you take care of your students, but besides that,
Well, yeah, I try to constantly work on projects, to always try to keep learning. Um, well, right now working on that project, working on freelance from time to time. But the real stuff that I like, it's doing characters. I love like looking at characters and seeing, like learning about the different kind of characters and presentations and styles, and what gets me busy, like I don't know, like being in the community, looking at people's work, and also like putting my stuff out there and creating. I think that's the thing that keeps me
Yeah, and getting feedback.
busy and getting feedback. Yeah, the most important part.
Yeah, of
And
course.
implementing feedback too.
Oh my God, yeah. That is definitely a very time consuming thing.
Yeah,
Well,
you thought it was over, but it's not over. Like you had to like put everything else. Well, it's over when you decide it's over. So
yep, exactly. Well, Alfredo, we've got a tradition here on the podcast that you probably remember, and there is a questionnaire in the end. So, yeah, you ready?
I think I am.
Okay, yeah, I think so too. So let's go. You're just as a reminder, you have about one or two sentences to go reply each question. So yeah, let's go.
Okay.
What's your number one tip for combating distractions when working from home?
Mm, Pressure.
Like a deadline?
No, like I'm not doing anything. Like I'm just sitting like there and idle
Okay.
and not doing anything. So
Okay,
it's
so
like,
this is
oh,
like
I could
moral
be working right
pressure.
now. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so you
Oh
punish
yeah.
yourself emotionally.
What?
You punish yourself emotionally for
No,
not doing anything.
no, I don't. But I have arranged like a time schedule to work, and if I'm not
Okay.
working at that time, I'm like I have to be working at this time. It's
Oh
not
my God.
overtime or anything, but I was like I decided to work at this time, and I have to work at that time.
Wow. Okay. Oh my God. I wish I could do that. Anyway, what's your favorite tradition or holiday?
I guess Christmas because I get to see all my family and everyone.
Cool. What's your favorite way to get in some exercise?
Exercise like well, most gyms are closed right now, but maybe like doing some home yoga can help,
Yep.
or some functional training, or like just going for I don't have like many parks with battery here, but if you have a park with bars, like that'd be a great place.
Yep. What's your most used emoji?
My most used emoji, the sparkles one.
Okay. Nice. Uh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your source of inspiration?
mm, I could say like everyone, but yeah, mainly life, I guess, life experiences, and I in that it also includes like all my fellow artists and the community and everyone else outside, like people doing stuff. It really inspires me to keep doing stuff.
Okay. Awesome. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Wow, that's hard. Let me think about it. Um, I don't know, like enjoy the time that you have and enjoy the process. Yeah, I think that's a great advice. Like enjoy the
That's a
process.
great advice. That's a great advice. Um, how do you celebrate little victories?
Maybe with a beer or like inviting some friends over.
Yep. If you could see one movie again for the first time, which one would that be?
That's hard. Wow, not sure. Maybe Spider Verse.
Yep. Good one. And if you could choose two famous people to have dinner with, who would you invite?
The
Dead
famous
or
people.
alive? Any type of famous people.
Any time of famous people. I don't know. I guess Damon Albarn from Gorillaz because I admire his stuff, but I don't know much about him.
You made him in
Uh,
3D.
I made 2D.
Ah, you made that was 2D.
Well, the name of the guy is 2D,
Ah,
but
yeah,
yeah, it's in
sorry. Yeah,
3D.
okay. You're
But
like
yeah,
obviously not
it's a
talking to a person who's into gorillas anyway.
it's a character from the band of Damon Albarn's creation,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
held it too. But the other guy that I probably invite maybe oh maybe Carvalho. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Nice group of people.
Yeah,
Definitely.
fun
Yeah,
times.
fun. Yeah. And finally, what's your backup career?
My backup career. Ah, I wanted to be a doctor when I was small, but I don't think that could be a backup career. So maybe like if it
Okay.
was for now, I'm not sure.
Well, that's it. You don't have one.
No, I don't have one.
Congratulations.
I guess I'm doing the thing that I want.
Okay, well, like let's see when you're like 50 or 60 if you take the second career as a doctor.
Maybe as an athlete, I love to do sports as a professional thing,
Okay, well, yeah,
but
I
it's
mean,
hard.
sounds exciting as a backup career.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, Alfredo, I'm done with my annoying questionnaire.
No, it's
So,
not annoying, but those were hard questions. Sorry
yeah,
if
I
I took time
know,
to
I
answer.
know, I know, I know. It's not easy for anyone. So, thanks so much, Alfredo. Really, really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing everything. I know it's yeah. I'm not always asking easy questions, but anyway, yeah. Thanks so much, and we'll post your work when it's done.
Thank you for having me. It was such a fun time. I was really
Yeah.
nervous, but it went
Yeah,
super
fun
awesome.
here as well.
Thanks.
Okay, Alfredo, and yeah, you can say hi to all of your students.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're doing well.
I'm sure they are. Okay, thanks, Alfredo.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
I hope you did learn something new and something that you can possibly even apply. And if you're curious about the program that Alfredo created, make sure you check the show notes because the intake for ZBrush Fundamentals and for Stelli's program at Art Heroes starts this February. And we'd be excited to have you among our students. But that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to Art Heroes Podcast. Check out www.artheroes.co for show notes, more interviews, and free tools made for you by our team of mentors. Tune in next week for more inspiration, and keep up the great work, hero.